Seeing none, before I go any further, I would like to speak to those that are in the audience. Please note that this meeting is being recorded and live streamed on the town's designated YouTube channel. The recording will also be archived and made available on the town's website after the meeting. All care is taken to maintain your privacy. However, by remaining in the public gallery, it is assumed that your consent is given if your image is broadcasted throughout the streaming. And with that, I will move to item C. I'm assuming that most people here tonight are here for the statutory public meeting. We are holding a statutory public meeting tonight. It's a zoning bylaw amendment, draft plan of subdivision, and draft plan of condominium application by M-Plan Inc. on behalf of Merritt Hill Group Inc. 464 Mount Albert Road, west of the second concession between Mount Albert Road and Hillcrest Drive in Holland Landing. Part of Lot 7, Concession 1, File ZBA 1810-19T-18003 and CDM 18.01. At this time, I'm going to ask the planner if he will introduce the project and make a presentation, please.
Certainly. Thank you, Madam Mayor. So I have some introductory comments before we turn it over to the owner's planner who has a presentation. So the applications before us, as the Mayor mentioned, 3 separate planning applications were received at the end of 2018 by the Planning Department, and the owner's request with these 3 applications is to subdivide the property to allow 14 townhouse units in 2 separate blocks fronting onto Mount Albert Road, and an additional 6 single detached lots on the south side of Hillcrest Drive. The purpose of this meeting, as the Mayor mentioned, is to allow the public to provide comments for staff to take under consideration as we undertake our review of the applications. We're at the early stages. No decision will be made this evening. It's a private application. The owner has submitted a number of background studies, technical studies that staff and other agencies will need to review. At this preliminary stage, I've identified a number of issues that we're going to have to take a closer look at as part of our evaluation, in addition to any comments we hear this evening from members of the public. Obviously, a number of the issues that I've identified so far are, number one, introducing the municipal servicing to the proposed lots on the Hillcrest Drive. That's something that we're going to have to take a look at, notwithstanding the applicant's statement that the municipal servicing will come from the existing development to the north, but the municipality does have some current capacity constraints from a water and sanitary sewer perspective, so it's something that we'll take a look at. The other issue is the amount of environmental lands on the property. The entire property is zoned open space. The proposal is to rezone portions of the lands to residential to allow the detached housing in the townhomes. So we'll have to review the environmental reports. We'll also circulate those to the Conservation Authority for their input. Traffic is obviously always a concern with any development application, so a traffic study has been submitted, so that will be reviewed by staff. And in addition, some of these technical studies may also be reviewed by third parties if the town staff considers it's appropriate to do so. As with any rezoning application, planning staff always takes a look at the appropriateness of the proposed development in the context of the immediate area as well as the broader area. So that's something that we'll take under consideration as part of our review moving forward, in addition to any comments we hear from the public this evening. So depending on council's direction, obviously it'll probably be a number of months before we're back with a future report to council. And as the mayor mentioned, obviously any resident that wants to be made aware of any future meetings on the application, all you need to do is fill out one of the sign-in sheets or send us an email or a letter to the planning department, and we'll make sure you're on our mailing list and you'll be advised of any future meeting. And if you don't feel comfortable speaking this evening, you can, again, send us something in writing if you have any comments, and we'll certainly make those part of our public record and take those under consideration and address those comments moving forward.
Thank you very much. Will there be any other presentations from Planning Department? Okay. Thank you very much. At this point, I would ask that the applicant or the applicant's agent come forward to make a presentation, please.
Good evening, Your Worship, members of council, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Michael Manette for M-Plan Inc. I'm the planning consultant for the applicant. Mr. Robert Huang, is the principal, is here with me tonight, as well as Heman Chi, the architect for the project. And we look forward to making a brief presentation and hearing comments from the public. Just as an introduction, before I go through my slide presentation, I just wanted to advise that we started our discussions with staff extensively back in 2016, and we did have extensive discussions with planning staff and also with staff at the Conservation Authority. As you heard in the introductory from Mr. Romano, there is a fair amount of environmental land on this property. There are 2 frontages. The official plan designation, which I'll show you on the schedule, has low-density residential components both on the north side and the south side, notwithstanding the fact that the zoning is still open space environmental. So that's why we need the rezoning application, although the official plan contemplates development both on both road frontages. During the 2-year period that we took to prepare the background reports, we did have, as I said, extensive discussions. So we have had the opportunity of having input from the Conservation Authority and from town staff. We hope as a result of that, that our original submission that we are proposing is a long way towards what we expect the final product to be, and that will be obviously carried out through the review process. So what I'd like to do is to go through my slide presentation fairly briefly. If I can, now I believe that the staff had an air photo that they had up before. I'm not sure how I get to that. That would show the context, so we didn't prepare that because I think you already had that. If you can pull that up for us, it would be helpful. Okay, so if the project, the location, let's see if I can get this to work. Let's see. So the subject site is, this is Mount Albert Road going east-west, and this is Hillside up here, Hillcrest. So the property is it goes from all the way through from Mount Albert Road to Hillcrest, and there's an open space area through here. As you can see, there's an existing townhouse development to the west of the subject site, and then to the east of the subject site, we have some larger estate residential. So if I can go back to the presentation. What we're proposing is a small-scale infill development proposal. As you've heard, we seek to rezone and subdivide the lands to permit 14 townhouse units fronting on Mount Albert Road and 6 single detached dwellings on the north side of the project fronting on Hillcrest Drive. And those are immediately southwest of the large subdivision that is currently under construction that has an extensive number of single-family residential lots. With respect to the environment, the development concept respects and reinforces all matters related to the natural heritage and promotes passive recreational opportunities. And as I'll show you when we get to our site plan, it is our intent to maintain the majority of the site as open space, with the expectation that that land may be conveyed to either the municipality or the Conservation Authority, depending on the results of the circulation. The proposal for the north end is to have 6 new single detached dwellings, which would be on full municipal services that would connect to the existing subdivision, which is immediately adjacent to the subject northwest corner. That would front onto Hillcrest Drive. And this is the project. So on the north side, we can see we have the 6 single lots, and these were all with, they would be zoned R4 and meet the requirements of the R4 zone. And on the south side, we have the 2 blocks of townhouses, 7 each, with 1 access road and a common element driveway. And these would be fronting onto Mount Albert Road. With respect to the streetscape, we would be, the design of the front would be important with respect to following the urban design requirements of the official plan. The official plan designation, as I indicated, we have the site here, and the north side of the site has, you can see there's yellow, and on the south side there's some yellow, and then the green goes through on an angle. So the intention would be where the yellow low-density residential designation is, would form the areas where the development would occur, and the green area, which is the open space designation, would remain for that purpose. So I just want to go back, and you can see what we have created is a buffer area, which is the light green, or the dark green. The light area, the light green, would be the open space that would be maintained, and these lines have been determined based on our discussions with the Conservation Authority. So before we proceeded to design the actual development itself, we determined the developable area based upon our environmental research and discussions with the Conservation Authority. And we assumed that through their comments, we would have this confirmed through their formal comments back on the application itself. What I have here, this was, I understand that Council wanted to have an understanding of how we complied with the official plan. So I won't go through this in detail, but what we have indicated is the policies that we have reviewed that we think are applicable to the application. And so, just in summary, the townhouse development will provide for minor intensification along a local corridor and community area. These are terms from the official plan. The local corridor is Mount Albert Road. The ground-oriented housing units within a low-density residential designation is permitted by specific policy in the official plan. The 6 single detached lots and the 14 townhouse units will result in a net density of 21.3 units per hectare. That conforms with a specific policy in the official plan 4422, which provides for density of between 20 and 30 units per hectare for the area. 50% of the low-density residential area will be developed for townhouses, which is above the requirement of 15% minimum in the official plan. The natural heritage evaluation determined that there are no environmental features on the site, and that was through our discussions with the Conservation Authority. There was originally, the Conservation Authority had identified a creek or intermittent water course through the site. However, through their own evaluation and updating of their documents, they determined that that was no longer on the site. That's likely as a result of the development that's occurred further north and around the site over the years. So that responds to those policies listed under the Natural Heritage Area policies. The official plan also has policies on utilization of open space area for park or parkette, which will link to the town's proposed trail and cycling network, and that's the policy referenced there. What we're proposing is through that light green area that I showed you before, there would be the opportunity to have open space areas for park, parkette, or cycling and trail connections. And the community trail linkages and active transportation relates to the town's trail network, and these are all the policies listed that reference that, and we will be providing for that in the open space area. With respect to the zoning bylaw, there was a question, I understand, that Council had with respect to the term exception. The way the zoning bylaw is set up, because we are changing the zoning and it's site-specific, the actual zoning bylaw we would be preparing would be identified through an approval process as an exception, in effect, policy of the bylaw itself. So the term exception refers to the manner in which the zoning bylaw would be implemented through the town's process, as opposed to having anything that's specifically exceptional, which is a different term. So the bylaw proposal is for an open space zone for the large green area, and the zoning is current zoning is not consistent with the official plan designation, because as I showed on the official plan map, we have yellow areas, and the entire site currently is zoned open space, even where the yellow areas are located. So that's why we need the zoning bylaw amendment to create a change from the open space to allow for the residential uses in the areas designated in the official plan. The zoning bylaw amendment will zone the proposed townhouse lands R4, and the single detached lands on the northern part of the site as R1. The open space area in the central portion of the site is intended to be zoned as OS2. There are a number of urban design policies in the official plan that we've tried to follow. We have a contemporary design, which provides an alternative option from traditional building styles, and the intent is to appeal to younger families who are more interested in the contemporary design, which is not to say that people that are not of the younger generation may not like the design. They may like the design as well, but the intent was to go with sort of a modern design, and I'll show you that in a moment. We have a pedestrian-friendly facade complete with paved walkways along Mount Albert Road to provide a strong street presence. So in fact, there will be a walkway on the site itself, and that will then connect to a public walkway, which will be within the road allowance, and there's a dedication requirement for that as well. So the walkway will connect directly to front doors, which front onto Mount Albert Road for the townhouses. As I indicated on the site plan, there's one vehicular access from Mount Albert Road to the townhouse development through a common element driveway, and the site traffic and the parking for the individual units would be at the back of the units, and that would be hidden from the street, and the access would be, for the cars, would be from the rear of the units. The 3-story flat roof design provides an overall building height in line with the existing 2-story pitched roof neighboring subdivision. So the height itself will be equivalent, even we have a flat roof as opposed to a peaked roof. There's a 2-story overhang at the front door, which marks a pedestrian entrance to each of the townhouses. Those are design requirements. And we have a dynamic design, as I indicated, to attract young families and contemporary newcomers. That's the streetscape design for the townhouses. So you can see that the entrance is through the central driveway, which goes to the parking and behind. These are the front doors. And we have a sidewalk here along the front doors, and then there's an open space area with the driveway here, and then the street would be out front. These are the side elevations. As you can see, there's a slope on the property, so the buildings would be stepped somewhat along the street frontage. And these are the side views. So this would be the back where you have the garage, and there would be a deck, open amenity space over the garage from the first floor. And this is the overhang at the front, so there would be a slight overhang where the front door entrance is off the street. There's some key dates that I wanted to point out. We had the pre-consultation meeting with staff back in October of 2016, and from that came the checklist requirements for submission, which included the requirements for all the different reports that were submitted. As a result of the process, during the time of our working on the application, Council passed its new comprehensive zoning bylaw. One of the requirements of that bylaw, if you recall, was no rezoning applications could occur within 2 years of the passing of the bylaw. You may recall that I appeared in front of you to get specific permission by resolution to file the application, because at the time I think you passed the bylaw, we were about 2 weeks away from filing. So as a result of that, on June the 19th, we received permission to file the application. The application was filed on September the 28th and deemed complete by the town by our correspondence December 20th at the end of last year, and that results in the meeting where we are tonight. So my concluding comments, we request that the proposed development be supported in principle, and that through that we will continue to work with staff and other agencies and the public to address any comments that we receive. The draft zoning bylaw contains appropriate standards to implement all aspects of the proposal based on the draft plan submission which we filed. And that would conclude my comments. There was a couple of, I believe there was a letter that came in from a resident at 5 Royal Cedar Court, which we were provided with. I'm not sure I need to comment on that at this time. I just wanted to point out, though, that in reviewing that letter, most of the issues raised in that letter are not really related to the specific project, but related to the concept of having development occurring in the area. So many of those comments deal with the planning process itself on a larger basis, and are comments related to the region, its requirements for its regional roads, and some overall planning issues that are more town-oriented. So if you'd like, I can come back and respond to any comments we hear tonight, either tonight or I can do that through the process. If you have any questions, I can answer them now, or I can reserve that till later.
Thank you very much. As you realize, this is very preliminary for us, that we have not seen. This is the first chance that we have seen this, so I'm not sure. There might be questions. Does anyone have a question at this time? Seeing none, thank you very much, appreciate it. We are now down at public comments, and I am hopeful that everyone that's here tonight have signed in. Before we get to the public comments, just to let you know that after this evening, any further meetings that take place, we will be using the list that was at the door or any other communication that we've had from residents interested in this project. So make sure that you've signed the list before you leave tonight, if you haven't, in fact. At this time is an opportunity for public comments. I would ask that speakers give their name and their address when they come to the microphone. And since we have a number of people, I'm going to suggest that a 5-minute limit. I won't cut you off in the middle of a sentence, but I'll give you a high sign if you don't wrap up at that point. If time permits at the end of the evening, if there's people that still would like to speak or come back up for a second speaking, then that's certainly an opportunity depending on our timing and the interest of the public. This is your meeting tonight, public, for us to hear your comments and your concerns. If our applicant can answer questions, I will be asking your applicant at a later time of the questions and see if we can have some answers before you leave tonight. If not, then staff will be writing them down and we'll be getting answers for you at a later date. So with that, I'm not sure, Mr. Lamanna, do we have, oh, we do have some sheets filled out. Wonderful.
Thank you. Through you, Madam Mayor, the first speaker is Ian Proudfoot.
Welcome, Mr. Proudfoot. Good to have you here tonight.
It seems I get to be here on a regular basis regarding this street. I think it's the third time in 6 years. Ian Proudfoot, and I live on 96 Hillcrest Drive. The aerial photo, thank you for putting it up. If you can see the black lines that are on there, those are the properties. The one at the bottom is the proposed development on the other side of Mount Albert. And then going north, where you can see the little blue, right there, over to the right. Yeah, okay. That's the land directly across from the proposed development on Hillcrest. You'll notice that that land has 2 homes on it, not the proposed 6. And if you really look carefully, the one driveway for the house that is more to the east is almost right on the black line. And the driveway for the house to the west is almost at the very end. And so by their proposal, they're proposing 6 driveways in that parcel of land. It's not consistent with the street at all. It wouldn't be consistent in design. It wouldn't be consistent in size. The average frontage on this street is probably somewhere in the neighborhood of 150 feet. I'm not here tonight to speak on behalf of the residents of our street. I have done, along with Jackie Rooping, we conducted a survey. In a very short period of time, we've had 17 responses from the 31 homes. I will share that with you, and then I will give you my personal view, but again, I'm not here to speak on behalf of the street. We gave out 3 options that our street could answer on, the option being, number 1, do nothing. Option number 2 was to allow estate residential, consistent in style and design with the street, which would allow 2 homes to be built. And the third option was to go ahead and say, yes, we're in agreement, go ahead and build 6 homes, but in doing so, convert the whole street to R1. Those are the 3 options that we laid out. We've heard from 17 of 31 homes. 7 favor number 1, do nothing. 5, build 2. And 6, build 6 and convert the entire Hillcrest Drive to R1. The second option, second preferred choice, was 2 homes by a large margin. 10 people favored that as their second choice. 5 favored do nothing, and nobody favored the Build 6 as their second option. We'll continue to gather results, and we're happy to share those. My personal view is that this is estate residential, that it should remain estate residential. I have no problem with the land being rezoned to estate residential on a personal level, building 2 homes consistent with what is on the street. I would say to you that if you decide to build or allow 6 to be built, then you must do what is fair. And what would be fair would be to allow the entire street to be rezoned R1 and to allow entire development of Hillcrest Drive. That's my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Through you, Madam Mayor, the next speaker is Tom Pileggi.
Ian said everything I was going to say. I'll pass.
Through you, Madam Mayor, next speaker is Wayne Jukens. Juskins.
Just stand up so we can hear you clearly.
Sure. It's Wayne Juskins, and I agree that we'd like to do what's fair for the street, and if we are going to rezone, it should apply.
Thank you.
Through you, Madam Mayor, next speaker is Ronan Marcus.
Willis, and I also agree with the comments that was made in the front foot. I'm behind that.
Thank you very much.
Dominic and Julie Ferris. And Madam Mayor, if the residents that wish to make supporting comments to Mr. Proudfoot,
Just the microphone.
for the purpose of live streaming, they should be using the microphone.
Okay. So even if you would like to agree with Mr. Proudfoot, if you could come up and speak into the microphone, it is being live streamed, so those that want to see it now or at a later date, then your comments will be heard, because I know that it was difficult for us to hear you speaking. We knew what you wanted, but go ahead.
Hello, my name is Dominic Ferris, and we live on 89 Hillcrest Drive. I agree with all the comments that Mr. Proudfoot made. I think that, you know, the property, obviously it's understandable at some point it's going to be developed. I think the zoning should remain as a state residential, as you mentioned. But if we are going to go ahead with something like this, then the entire street should be rezoned, to be fair to the rest of the residents. I'm not sure the exception should be made in one case and everything should apply to everybody else. One other comment I would mention is that I didn't fully understand the natural heritage amendments or refinements that were going to happen or were able to happen, because we live right there, and there is a stream that runs through the back of properties, and we do have some issues at our property, which is at the very end of the street, especially when there's a large rainfall or waterfall or a lot of fast rain. Basically our backyard backs up and that stream overfills into our property. So we would be interested in any assessment that was done on what the impact would be on our property if with additional houses, and especially 6 houses on that street. Okay. Thanks.
Thank you very much.
Sorry, I just wanted to add one thing. I'm Julie Ferris from 89 Hillcrest. When you spoke about the townhouses, you spoke about the design and the height and stuff, but there was no mention of the 6 properties that, you know, again, we're at the very end of the street. And if you're going to smush in 6 houses on that little bit of property, I can only see that the square footage is going up over top of everything, and I'm just wondering about that.
I believe that in the presentation, it was 3 stories.
That was for the townhouses.
Okay, I'm sorry? Okay, very good, thank you.
Again, so the housing, if there was development there, it should match what's existing.
Yes. Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Through you, Madam Mayor, your next speaker is Amber Walker.
Good evening. Welcome.
I live at 146 Hillcrest, and it's hard for me. I agree with everything that Ian has said. I'm second generation. I've lived in my house. I understand development, but what I want to know is if it is rezoned, say, so can somebody buy our house, knock it down, and then build 2 houses on our one property? That's a question. My mom wanted to know, and she was the previous owner and who built our house. And for you guys, it's a flood. I used to play hockey on that pond down there. It's a floodplain. You know, as you guys probably realize right now, I know it's drying up, but it's even my husband goes, that's a floodplain, you know, and he looks and he knows. So anyways, I just want to say that I agree with Ian and some of the other residents that, you know, 2 houses for sure, maybe 3, but not 6. Thank you.
Thank you.
Through you, Madam Mayor, next speaker is Jason Shaw.
Good evening. Welcome.
Good evening, thanks. It's Jason Shaw. I live on Royal Cedar Court, number 26. And when you look out the back of our house, it's a beautiful view, big trees. The whole land is full of bulrushes, floodplain for sure. There's a flowing stream. I saw it the last time there was a bit of a thaw. It'll be frozen over now, but there's a flowing stream there. Our backyard, when it's in the wetter season, you try to cut the lawn, and it's on a hill, and it's soaking wet already. So are these people going to be constantly running sump pumps to be able to live in the new homes there? I would think so. And there is a pair of large red-tailed hawks that frequent the area, and they love those large willow trees. Any more development, and they're out of there. There's already the development to the north that we will have to listen to for over the next few years. There's a small area left for these birds, among other animals. Any more development, especially on both sides of where they would like to be, they're gone. So I have a concern about the environment. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Through you, Madam Mayor, the last speaker that has requested to speak is Jay Ruping.
Welcome. Good to have you with us tonight.
Thank you. Good evening. Jacqueline Ruping from 134 Hillcrest Drive. Again, I concur with Ian and essentially agree that, yes, we should allow some development that would be fair, but either stay in the character of the street, or if you consider allowing for greater density, that you would permit everybody else in future to make the same application and the services would be allowed for and granted. I guess I would also ask maybe that the town consider overall what the long-term plan is for the area. It looks like very high density is being built all around us, and I don't know if it would make sense 20 years from now that somebody else would come and want to develop that street and put even higher density than 6 houses. So again, I'm not suggesting that that be done now, but I think it would be great when this review occurs that you consider what might be best, even long-term when services are available, because we don't want a different answer 5 or 10 years from now. Might be a comment. I did have a question for the developer. You mentioned that the houses would be connecting, and I'm talking about the 6 houses on Hillcrest, would be connecting to the existing subdivision. Is that right? Where the townhomes are?
Perhaps you can
Just
address
phrase
the
the
question to us,
Okay.
and when you're finished, we'll have him come up to the
Okay.
microphone and answer.
Fair enough. So my question was, where the sewer and water was coming from, if it's coming from the new pumping station area that was being developed as part of the north development, or if it's going back to the townhomes that have been existing for whatever, 15, 20 years. Because the concern was, would that all be going underneath the creek? Was the services then be somehow being installed under the creek, and what that would mean environmentally? And then again, the comment that was already brought up was there was no information given on the size and the intention of the houses on Hillcrest. How many stories? Would it be also a modern design, or potentially be something more in character with the street? That's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now, I'm just wondering if you could answer that question, the applicant, from the last speaker, and then I'll ask if there's anyone else that would like to come to the microphone.
Okay.
Go ahead, please.
Okay. The last question dealt with the servicing, I believe. Right now, this is an old Google map. It doesn't show currently what is there. This area here is the new subdivision, and so there's a manhole right at this location, which is just on the north side of the end of Hillcrest. The intention, and we have an engineering report which was filed that has how the servicing will take place for both of the parts of the development. The 6 lots for the individual single detached would be serviced from that manhole, an extension at the west end of Hillcrest to connect to the manhole in the new subdivision to the northwest. Our engineer has reviewed the engineering reports and dealt with the town staff, regional staff, and I believe had discussions with the engineer to confirm capacity availability for the 6 homes. So that's, the north part would be connected, those 6 lots would be connected to the north. The townhouses would be connected through an extension of the sewer lines along Mount Albert Road, so they're separated. The area in between, the green area, perhaps we should go back to, if we can put the report up, I'll go to the site plan to show that again. Oh, we're going backwards the other way. So, as I indicated, the servicing would come from this area here for these lots, and for the south part, it would come along Mount Albert Road. There was a question, if I can answer it now, regarding the nature of the homes that would be going on the 6 lots. The intention is to have the rezoning to the R1. All the R1 standards would apply. We're not asking for any exceptions or changes or variances to the regulations that apply. So the height limits would be the height limits of the R1 zone, the coverage and area of the house would be, and the setbacks would all be related to that. There is no house designs because those may be done by one developer, may be done by individuals who buy the individual lots. So that would be subject to whatever the town requirements would be for any residential development on a single lot. So hopefully that answers that question.
Thank you very much. Mr. Webster.
Madam Mayor, for the public record, I'd like to present a few cautionary comments tonight. This is a proposal from a developer that needs changes to our plans and our regulations. I don't think town staff have agreed to any servicing for the lots on Hillcrest at this point. I think it's a development proposal at this point, so I would like to indicate that the town has, staff have not concurred with that for these 6 lots and are under review. And as far as allocation from the town, that is something that is considered by council. We have very limited allocation, and infill, while desirable, has to be done properly. So I'd like to caveat those comments that we're here tonight to listen, and Mr. Ramuno will make sure that the comments are coordinated and we report in full in the future.
Thank you very much, Mr. Webster. Do we have any other, Mr. Lamanna, any other present tonight that would be wanting to speak, or
Through you, Madam Mayor,
that's-
we have a number of folks that have filled out the yellow sheets but have not requested to speak, so certainly I think it's prudent to ask any members of the public
Thank you.
if they wish to comment.
And with that, then I will ask if there's anyone in the audience that has not filled out a form, however, after listening, feel that they would like to contribute some comments, please come forward. Please give your name and your address, and Yeah, about 5 minutes is where we would be, so come up to the microphone if you would like to.
I filled out the form, but I was not sure if I want to speak because it's my first experience here. So,
Welcome, good to have you here with us.
thank you. So my name is Nadezhda Polyakov. I live at the 24 Royal Cedar Court. I'm maybe part of the younger families, if you want to. So we came to Holland Landing specifically because of that work-life balance. We fell in love with that view that we have from our backyard. The boys are always playing in the creek in the summer, so it's really, really nice. So we have the feeling that right now it's becoming really, really crowded, and it will be noisy, not safe. I mean, school, we have the schools and we have this new development, but the balance is going away somehow. So we're debating about, discussing in the family these changes that might come, and the balance, the nature, the air that is clear, the noise, and the traffic. Of course, there are lots of schools there, and kids have to be safe as well. So are we bringing more traffic in there? So it's a kind of concern for a parent. And I also looked at the design. They look very futuristic, very nice design, thank you. But I think they don't really match with the style of Holland Landing. And I don't know, it's just like a personal opinion. It's a comment, maybe not a question. So again, I also kind of, maybe it's not a good place, but I started a conversation in our in Facebook public group, so maybe we can discuss more, like all our opinions and suggestions, because I didn't know that the Hillcrest Street will be that representative today. So just wanted to tell you that we're also on your side, guys. So glad to, these will be my concerns. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else that would like to come up and speak at this time? Please come ahead. Could you kindly give your name and your address?
My name is Wen Chen. I'm the 107 Hillcrest, the one right beside this property that is going to be rezoned and subdivided. And I have a concern to be put forward. That is why we should cut out that patch of land to have it subdivided. While this is a mature community for years and sparsely populated, now you have increased the density of population. And have you, ladies and gentlemen, considered the capacity that the road, the municipal facilities that can sustain such a change? So another thing is, if you just cut out that piece and have it subdivided and rezoned, why not the rest? How about the rest? Why not keep it in compliance with together? So if you just cut out that, looking from the satellite view, it will be like a patch. So it's not good in looking, and it's not good for the neighborhood. So in order to make our neighborhood and town of East Greenbury looks better and function better, I think you should consider also the capacity of the municipality and also the opinion from the neighborhood. We have about over 30 households along the both sides of Hillcrest Drive. So I think you must listen to the opinions from the people living along the streets. Thank you.
I'm not sure, did you just arrive? Did you just arrive most recently?
I just arrived about 10 minutes ago.
I thought perhaps. So the discussion prior to you arriving was that this is very preliminary, that the decisions will be several months away. There will be a lot of discussion prior to making any decisions.
Nobody approached me.
And I'm just saying this is what we discussed prior to you coming in when the meeting started at 7 o'clock. So I just wanted to bring you up to date with that this is, at this point, we're taking comments from the community, and there was a presentation from the applicant, and that's our meeting tonight. And then the planning staff will work to see where it may go.
Yes. So what you said is not in contradictory with my comment, right?
No, it's not at all.
Right.
It's not.
So I didn't try to contradict your viewpoints, right?
No, not at all. No, you
Yeah.
didn't. I just wanted to confirm that what you were saying was exactly what was going to be happening.
Yes.
Just so you were assured that it's not moving forward tonight or in any time soon, and there will be a lot of discussion prior to any
Another thing
decisions.
that occurred to me that while the construction is going on, so my property is next to this one, and I hope that my living situation will not be affected by the going on constructions like noise, like dust, like other contaminations on my property. I think that would be something my concern would be addressed. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We've noted that as well. Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to come to the microphone? Absolutely.
Yes, now that I'm looking at this picture again, I'd just like to ask the developer, on the picture where the stream would be, it's not on there for everyone to see. There's possibly some people on Hillcrest may have not ventured down there and seen the stream, so they might want to know that there is a stream, and I don't see it being shown on this picture here. So I'd like to ask the developer why it's not on there. Thanks.
Thank you. Would you like to answer that question? Thank you.
As I indicated, and as you've heard from staff, we have provided an environmental report as a major document submission in support of the application. This is the site plan. The site plan doesn't show details for the area in green because the expectation is that that green area would remain as open space, and as I indicated, at the request of likely the Conservation Authority and perhaps the municipality. The request would be for those lands to be conveyed to the municipality or to the Conservation Authority, at which time they may design a parks plan for that area, or they may decide to leave it natural, or they may decide to do a combination of keeping an area. You've heard that one of the residents skated there in the past. And of course that history has affected the natural features on the site over the years, so it is drying up. It's an intermittent stream, so certain times of year, certainly there is a stream in there. There's a corridor. In the height of the summer, it may be dry, but there may be other times of year where it absorbs or provides for overland flow of any, after the winter. If there's snow, it may have a wet area. But that would be determined by the authority that takes over ownership. So it would be irresponsible for us to show a plan on those lands, since the expectation is that we would not own those. So this is a site plan drawing, so it wouldn't have that kind of detail. But what it does show is the area in the light green, which would be kept as open space, which is a major significant part of the property. What we have done on the plan is to provide for access. There'd be a walkway here, which would be on the east side of this eastern property. And then there would be access through the site for the public to get access to that open space, so that if the lands were conveyed, part of the conveyance would include likely an easement over this walkway area here to provide access to the public space, because the public space itself would not have street frontage. So in order for it may be connected through a park system. There may be a trail system connecting to the northwest and to the southeast through the site. But in order to provide access through the ownership of the lands currently, we provided for this walkway area here that would be provided through an easement to the public. So that's why there's no detail on that portion of the plan. Certainly there would be and through the Conservation Authority's description, it would be an intermittent stream or creek that would be shown. However, if there was a plan done by the Conservation Authority or by the town as part of the parks plan, there may be facilities shown within that area, may be kept natural, or a combination of those two things.
Thank you very much. Are there any other people that would like to come to the microphone? Go ahead.
Again, Dominic Ferris, 89 Hillcrest Drive. So several times tonight, I've heard that that stream is dry. If your assessment says it's dry, I would seriously reconsider re-looking at the assessment, the environmental assessment that was done. I can provide pictures, photographs from this year, from 2018, where our backyard's a lake. I can provide pictures of the bridge that links from our property to Colony Trail, where the water level gets so high it lifts the bridge, and the residents in Colony Trail actually had to tie chains to keep that bridge in place. So I've lived there for 10 years, almost 10 years, and I can assure you that stream is not dry. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Not seeing any other speakers at this time. Oh, go ahead. Come up, please. Do you have a question?
Just now, I heard this gentleman said that that part will open up a road to get access to the public area, right? No? You said? Now, what is it going to open? A walkway. A walkway, right? You're going to change the status quo to make a walkway beside my property, right?
That's a possibility if the town decides that.
So my privacy, my safety would be put at risk by opening such a trail or a walkway, whatever you name it. But I don't agree that you can open a walkway alongside my fence. There's no fence at all, alongside my property, because people are walking by, and my property is open to the public. There would be more people, all kinds of people, all kinds of persons. I don't agree with that, because I'm the brunt to be affected most. So this part is my property. That's my property. If you open a walkway, my answer is definitely not.
Thank you. Your comments will be noted. I'm going to suggest if you should have any other thoughts later tonight, tomorrow, please put it in an email, drop it off on a note, make a phone call to the planning department, and that will be included as part of the record as well. And so at this time, yes? You'll have to come up to the microphone, please, introduce yourself, and give your address. Nope, up to the microphone, please.
Since we were coming from downtown, I'm representing him, Wen Chen, on Hillcrest. Is there any way to get the first 37 minutes that we missed out? We were commuting coming here.
Yes, absolutely. We're live streaming right now. And so the live streaming is archived, and you can pick it up at any point.
Okay, awesome.
Okay.
Thank you.
YouTube. Thank you. Okay, so we have concluded all the public comments at this time. Are there any questions from members of council? Councillor Roy DiClemente.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Through you to the applicant, a lot of the comments tonight focused on the detached homes. With respect to the townhouse blocks, you noted that there would be a common driveway in. I guess two-part question. One, is it considered a condo style or a parcel of tied land development? And secondly, is there provision for, aside from simply parking the car and having the balcony over the garage, are there a provision for visitor parking and or community amenity spaces aside from using the open space to the north of the property? So if you're appealing to young families, obviously those young families would not want their children playing in what may or may not be a front yard along Mount Albert Road. So I'm just wondering if there is a community amenity space and as well visitor parking, because that's one of our other challenges in this community. Okay. Thank you.
If we could bring the site plan back up, or the presentation, I can go to the site plan. Not sure how well we can zoom. We have provided for visitor parking on site. They would, and it's hard to see at this scale. I'm not sure whether we can zoom in on that, but there is visitor parking along the north side here and also here. Within this, the buffer area here, there would be some passive recreational spaces, the opportunity for some benches, a small tot lot perhaps, and then of course there is the connection to the larger space. So there is, we can see there's some visitor parking here and visitor parking here, and then this buffer area is considered to be a passive recreation area for the users. The first question you had was with respect to the driveway. The driveway is called a common element driveway. So and the same thing with the green space within the buffer area, that would be common as well. So that would be, they would be a condominium with respect to the maintenance of the driveway and with respect to the landscaped open space. Did I hit all the questions? I think I did, but I may.
You did, thank you. I guess for me, so it's maintaining the driveway and the common spaces, but it's not a condo, so it's freehold, in
Well,
other words.
the units are freehold for the purposes of the ownership of those, but then the area outside of the, you see where the lots are here, anything beyond the individual lots, the common area would be the landscaped area and the paved driveway and the parking area.
Thank you.
Any other questions from members of council? I know we'll have ample opportunity when it does return. Councillor Persicini.
What about accessibility for handicap or disabled people? Will you have enough parking for them?
We haven't specifically identified parking spaces for the unit owners for that purpose. They would be, and I'm assuming that through the design, we haven't gotten into that level of detail yet, but they would be designed if there was a need for that, for the people who are purchasing. With respect to the visitors, I guess we'd have to meet the requirements of the zoning bylaw with respect to the number of parking spaces, and if there's a requirement within that for, I would expect there might be one for the handicap space size.
I realize it's preliminary, all this. I guess we just have to wait and see when our staff puts something forward to us. Thank you.
Okay, yeah, I would expect we would have those types of comments that we'd have to respond to with respect to the more detailed design.
Thank you very much. Okay. Any other members of council with questions at this time? We'll be waiting until it comes back to us. Thank you very much. With that, seeing no other presentations, could I have a motion to receive Councillor Persicini, Councillor Crothers? Be it resolved that the presentation and comments during the statutory public meeting regarding the zoning bylaw amendment, draft plan of subdivision and draft plan of condominium applications by M-Plan Inc. on behalf of Merritt Hill Group Inc. 464 Mount Albert Road west of the second concession between Mount Albert Road and Hillcrest Drive in Holland Landing, part of Lot 7, Concession 1, File ZBA 18-1019T 18003 and CDM 18-01 be received. All those in favor? And that's carried. Mr. Planner, could you tell us when we might expect to have something back in front of council?
Through you, Madam Mayor, considering all the comments and the amount of reports that we need to review, I think it'll be a number of months before we compile all the information, but we'll certainly let all the residents know when we schedule a meeting moving forward. But I would imagine it'd be probably 5 to 6 months.
Okay. Just so everybody heard that, 5 to 6 months, somewhere in there. Please leave your contact information with us, so when we're going to be meeting with this again, that you have the opportunity to be back in here with input one more time. We've certainly heard it. We will be sitting with planning in between and having more details as time goes on as well. So thank you very much for coming. You're most welcome to stay. We have a further meeting to continue, but if you choose to leave, we won't be offended. Is there a hockey game on tonight? I'm at item D with presentations, and at this point, I do not see any presentations. Is that correct?
Correct, Madam Mayor?
Thank you very much. Item E, we have had our presentations tonight in front of us, no deputations tonight.
Correct, Madam Mayor?
Thank you. Kidding. We're at committee recommendations to adopt the committee recommendations from our committee of the whole held on January 8th. Any questions on those? Could I have a mover and a seconder, please? Councillor Morton, yes, are you? Go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd like to pull 005 and 006 for separate and recorded votes, given that they're large-scale designs. And further, I had notified the clerk that 009, which was with respect to the public art policy that I'd proposed, the resolution didn't match what I had submitted to him. So I'd like to see that amended, please.
Okay, so if you could put those up for us, please. Let's start with 005.
Sure, Madam Mayor, just give me 1 second to cut and paste.
Zero 005, 006, and 009. So we'll start with 005.
This is 005 highlighted on the screen for you, Madam Mayor. Oops, sorry. Yeah, I just need to pull that up.
Pardon?
So through you, Madam Mayor, Councilor Roy DeClemente has requested recorded vote on 005. Councilor Roy DeClemente, how do you vote?
Yes.
Before, I'm not seeing it here, I'm sorry. I thought we were going to have it up. We had it up, we lost it.
Sorry, I was just trying to put it on the recorded sheet. So Councilor Roy DeClemente was a yes. Councilor
Yes.
Crothers?
Yes.
Councilor Crone?
Yes.
Councilor Foster?
Yes.
Mayor Haxon?
Yes?
Councilor Morton?
Yes.
And Councilor Persicini?
Yes.
Motion's carried.
And the next one is 006.
Through Madam Mayor, just cutting and pasting on reco sheet. So 006 is up on the screen before you. I'll just highlight the main part of it. Councilor, through you, Madam Mayor, Councilor Roy DeClemente has requested a recorded vote on 006. How do you vote?
Yes.
Councilor Crothers?
Yes?
Councilor Crone?
Yes.
Councilor Foster?
Yes.
Mayor Haxon?
Yes?
Councilor Morton?
Yes.
Councilor Persicini?
Yes.
That motion is carried.
And 009?
That was just a request for an amended version of the resolution, and the clerk has been advised of the correct verbiage.
And is it there now then?
I put that in my minutes. Let me,
I had submitted it in writing
Yeah.
following our meeting, and then when the minutes were published, it didn't reflect what I had submitted in writing, so he now has it.
so through you, Madam Mayor, the top highlighted portion was what is reflected in the recos. The bottom portion is what Councilor Roy DiClemente is suggesting it be amended to.
Councillor Roy DeClemente, you're okay with that one?
I drafted it, yes.
Well, I want to make sure that that's what you drafted, that's what you
It's
put
what
there.
I read during CWC,
Thank you.
and I read from my device and then sent it to the clerk, so it hasn't been changed since then.
Just checking. Very good.
Just make sure it's the same, that's all.
Okay. Councillor Roy DeClemente is moving it. Councillor Crothers, second. All those in favor? And that's carried. The next one, and the rest, were there any others that we needed to pull? Moved by Councillor Persicini, seconded by Councillor Roy DeClemente. The remainder be moved. All those in favor? And that's carried. The next item I have is item G, and that's adoption of the...
Madam Mayor? Sorry, just to, there are two recommendations from earlier today. I'll put them on the screen for you. The first recommendation was with regards to the advisory committee and reclassification of those. So what we have done, just for everybody's sake, because I know it was amended, I've left the entire resolution as it was. The crossed out section is a part of the original recommendation that was suggested to be struck out and replaced with the highlighted yellow. And that would be the rest of your motion then.
Can everyone read that, or will I read it out? Can you read it? Everybody can read it? Okay.
And then the second one, and you can vote on these independently or together, but the second one was with regards to the municipal elections accessibility report memo.
I'll suggest that we vote on them together unless someone chooses to separate them out. Moved by Councillor Crone, seconded by Councillor Foster. All those in favor, and that's carried.
Thank you, Madam.
Okay. And we have the Committee of the Whole minutes from the 8th of January. Questions? Moved by Councillor Morton, seconded by Councillor Persicini. All those in favor? That's carried. And the minutes of the council meeting on January the 8th, moved by Councillor Persicini, seconded by Councillor Crothers. All those in favor? And that is carried. We are down to correspondence for consideration, and we have just one item. And it's regarding the Cowboy Mounted Shooting Association requesting a letter of no objection and exemption from bylaw number 2004-80 being the noise bylaw, and bylaw 2004-81 being the firearms discharge bylaw for the use of replica firearms at the Ontario Rodeo Championships held during the Ram Rodeo at the Royal Canadian Riding Academy on Davis Drive, October 12, 2019 to October 14, 2019. Comments, questions? Councillor Morton.
The only comment I have, Madam Mayor, is, and this is, I know has bugged everybody for quite a few years, is the fact that the championships are being held in Newmarket, East Gwillimbury. The last time I checked, it was on the East Gwillimbury side, so I'm not sure whether we can somehow let these people know that they're really in East Gwillimbury and not partially Newmarket?
I think they know they're paying taxes to us. Newmarket's not getting anything, so I think they get that part. I suspect, like some of our other commercial venues, that it's strictly for notoriety of a community as opposed to a slight on East Gwillimbury. Councillor Roy DeClemente.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. In the past, I have been vocal about not supporting rodeo activities in general, based on the fact that, from my perspective, the rodeo doesn't have anything to do with the culture of the Old West, and it's simply sensationalizing the abuse of animals. So I won't be supporting a resolution should a council put one forward to grant the request.
Thank you very much. Councillor Carruthers.
Thank you. I echo Councillor Roy DeClemente's comments, and I will not be supporting this motion.
Thank you. Councillor Foster.
Just a couple of things occurred to me reading this letter. I thought it lacked a little bit of information. Are these shows all 3 days? How many shows per day? The duration of the show? And do they reach out to the surrounding area to let them know exactly what kind of noise is going to be going off?
Is there anyone on staff that might be able to answer that? Mr. Horner?
I can't imagine anybody knows, but I was wondering myself whether or not this would be an activity that would be conducted inside the barn or outside the barn. So it may make sense for us to take this offline and do a little research and come back with a memo.
Thank you. I know at that time of the year they do have shows outside as well as in, so it could be debatable. Councillor Persuccini.
I suggest a motion to send it back to staff and give us more information, because the way it looks right now, I'm not too sure that I want to support it either.
It's not in a rush. It's November the 29th, so there certainly is some time. Yes, Mr. Lamanna?
Through you, Madam Mayor, I certainly, when I initially got the correspondence, it was pretty vague to begin with, and I asked Mr. Helenek to provide the links and additional information. If council just refers this back to staff, I will get the additional information requested by council and present this back on February 5th council agenda.
Thank you. I believe Councillor Persuccini made that request. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Foster? That we get more information. All those in favor? Thank you. That's carried. I have no other correspondence. Is there anything else that I should be aware of? Mr. Lamanna?
No, Madam Mayor, there are no bylaws being presented and no other business at this time.
Thank you. So item I, there are no reports. Item J, no resolutions. Item K, no bylaws at this time. Other business? Is there any other business? Seeing none. Item M is the confirming bylaw. Could I have a mover and seconder, please? Councillor Morton, Councillor Roy DeClemente. All those in favor? That's carried. And we would have an adjournment at 8:14, moved by Councillor Crone, seconded by Councillor Carruthers. All those in favor? And that's carried. Thank you very much. Thank you, staff. Appreciate that. Good night tonight.